Hi there, you're listening to What's New Today, a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. This is Sangeetha, your host from India, and in every episode, I'm joined by a curious child to talk about a very interesting news story. Although in today's episode, I'm joined by an 11-year-old who's here to share some fascinating book recommendations that she'd like to make to other children her age.
My name is Saathvika. I'm 11 years old and I'm in 6th grade. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I go to New Albany schools.
Welcome to the show, Saathvika. Such a pleasure to hear a book suggestion from 11-year-old. Saathvika, before we begin, can you tell us the name of the two book series?
One is called the Aru Shah series, but it's known as the Pandava Quintlet, and the other is called Greystone Secrets.
The Greystone Secrets series and the Aru Shah series, which is also called the Pandava Quintet, did you say?
Yeah.
Awesome. So are you quite familiar with Indian mythology?
Yeah.
Shall we begin this episode with a very quick game? I'll ask you a few questions from Indian mythology, and shall we see how comfortable both of us are with these?
Okay.
Here's the first question. In the Mahabharata, the Pandavas are 5 in number, right? The youngest of the two, Nakul and Sahadev, who's their mother?
Madri.
Wow, awesome. And who's the mother of the first 3?
Kunti.
Cool. Next question. Who was the guru of the Pandavas?
Dronacharya.
Who is Drona's son?
Ashwatthama.
And the final question, what happens to Ashwatthama at the end of the Mahabharata battle?
He is cursed that he's supposed to live with diseases for the rest of his life, and he's sort of immortal.
I know he's one of the 7 immortals. I never knew about this curse part. Maybe it's true. All right, wonderful. Now that we've got the quiz out of the way and you did brilliantly, let's move on to hearing more about the Aru Shah series. Can you tell me what this series is about?
So the Pandava Quintlet, which revolves around a girl called Aru Shah, and she lives in a museum called the Museum of Ancient Indian Art and Culture, and she's known for being a little deceitful at school. And at the beginning of the story, a few classmates come over to her house, and to impress them, she releases a demon called the Sleeper, who aims to wake up Lord Shiva so that he can destroy the world. And she also learns that she has the soul of Arjuna, the 3rd oldest Pandava in the Hindu epic Mahabharata. She also meets her soul sister called Mini, who has the soul of Yudhishthira, the oldest Pandava. And it's up to them to save the world. Yeah.
This sounds very dangerously similar to most of the novels written by Rick Riordan. So would you think anyone who's read a Percy Jackson series or a Trials of Apollo series would like this series too?
Yes, and the publisher is actually called Rick Riordan Presents. And that's a line of mythology-inspired books created by Rick Riordan. So the readers of both the series would like them.
So Rick Riordan, the author of Percy Jackson series, is, I guess, trying to inspire authors around the world to write about, books based on their respective mythologies and cultures. So that's how the author of this series, who I presume is an Indian?
Yeah, she's called Roshni Chokshi.
And where does she live? Do you know?
I think she lives in Georgia.
I have read many of Rick Riordan's works and I'm a great fan of this whole fantasy genre. I am definitely going to pick up this 5-book series and read them. Children of what age do you think will appreciate this book?
I think it's more of grade 5, 6, sort of. You need at least basic knowledge of Indian mythology to understand it a little.
Who told you all the stories of Indian mythology? How did you know about the Ramayana and Mahabharata?
My parents taught me all this,
These were bedtime stories?
sort of.
What do you really love about this book series so much?
I believe that it's important to learn about other cultures and mythologies. And Aru Shah, it explains Hindu mythology perfectly. I get to learn more about my own culture.
So, what character in this book did you like the most? I'm assuming it is the protagonist.
No, actually, it's a character called Boo. He's a talking pigeon, and he emerged after Aru released the sleeper, and he has like a really shocking and dark past, and it was really exciting to unravel it.
Does he also have a great sense of humor?
Yes.
Okay, so Boo is also the son of a Pandava.
No, actually. I don't want to give away who Boo is since it's exciting to read by yourself, and I don't want to spoil the book for anybody.
Oh, okay, no problem. I will not venture and prod you further. I'll pick up the book and figure out who Boo is. I'm really excited to know. The entire book series is written keeping today's world in mind, right?
Yeah.
So these characters have access to laptops and the internet and smartphones.
Yes, they do, but they can't use it very much since the phones are always getting smashed by villains.
Phones are getting smashed by villains, okay? How much of Aru Shah do you see in yourself?
I see like half of her. It's mentioned that she's read Harry Potter and she's taken the like quiz and house quiz, and she's also in Slytherin like me.
Oh, you two are in Slytherin? You took the Harry Potter quiz?
I'm in Ravenclaw, but it said my next house would be Slytherin,
What do you
like
mean
my
your
second
next
house. It's like it rates you, like your first house, your first choice would be this, your second choice would be this.
Coming back to our Aru Shah, you said you see about half of Aru Shah in yourself, right? Is there one thing that Aru Shah does in the book that you would love to do in real life?
She defeats a lot of demons, which I like. And she meets a lot of mythology people. I'd like to meet the Bear King. And also, we meet Hanuman. So,
The Bear King means Jambavan.
yeah, I just want to see him fight people
But
and
he's
how
really
strong
old.
in the book, he's like really strong. Also, Hanuman, I'd like to meet him too. I just want to ask him about his version of the Ramayana.
You think Hanuman's version would be very different from Valmiki's version that you and I know?
Maybe because he's been part of it, it might be a little bit different.
Very interesting perspective. If you wanted to leave our listeners with one sentence about why they should go and pick up the Aru Shah series and read, what would that be?
It teaches you a lot about cultures and mythologies, and it's really fun to read, trust me.
That should be a clinching statement. It's really fun to read. On that note, moving on to the next book series that you'd like to recommend, which is the Greystone Secrets. And who's the author? Sorry, I forget.
Margaret Peterson Haddix.
So, can you tell me what is the plot of the Greystone Secrets?
Okay, so the first book of the Greystone Secrets series, called The Strangers, revolves around three siblings called Chess, Emma, and Finn Greystone. Chess has always been like the protector of his younger siblings. Emma loves math, and Finn does what Finn does best, acting silly and being adored. And they've been a happy family, them and their mom, but everything changes after they hear that there's three kidnapped children, and they're really shocked by the startling similarities between them. Like they have the same ages, the same date, birthdays, the same names, everything. And before they can question their mom about it, she leaves on a sudden business trip and leaves them in the care of Mrs. Morales and her daughter Natalie. But there's puzzling clues left behind that leads to complex codes, like hidden rooms and a really dangerous secret.
Do the kids have any magical powers?
No, their magic is their brain.
Their magic is their brain.
Yes.
Oh, this sounds
They
like a
have to-
Sherlock Holmes book.
Yeah.
Interesting. Quite intrigued by what you've said, and I really like the plot. I think I will pick up this book series too. And at the rate at which I'm picking up book series, some of our listeners must think even I'm 10 years old, but I love reading all these. Children of what age do you recommend can read this book?
I'd recommend like 10 years old to understand the plot a little, because there's a lot of clues that you can unravel, and it's more fun when you can unravel it yourself. It's not math, but it's a lot of puzzles and codes.
Where is the story based out of?
It's actually in Ohio where I live, and I've met the author.
Cool.
I've
You have an autographed copy of a book?
No, I've actually met her online.
Okay, so you have a selfie with her or a screenshot of yourself with the author.
I don't, but I should have done that.
Oh, all right. Do you know the word autograph? Have you even heard of it?
Yeah, it's like their name, signature on a piece of paper or their photo.
I was wondering if, people of your generation even knew that word. Or if you did happen to meet an author of a book. So I, for instance, have a book signed by an author called Ruskin Bond. I didn't meet him, but somebody who did meet him got a book autographed by Ruskin Bond, and I have it. I may have read that book, but I still treasure it and will always keep it for years to come, just because it has his signature. So what really stood out to you when you read the Greystone Secrets trilogy?
I really like mystery books, and I also like the cliff-hanging ending. People who like mysteries, actions, thrillers, science fiction, suspense type of books would love it very much.
Now, you said you have some questions for me and some riddles, right? Shall we go over them?
Yes, I have a few reflection questions. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought you knew what was going on, only to discover that you were completely wrong?
Hundreds of times. I thought I had some great friends and I thought they were really nice to me, only to discover later that no, not at all. Has it happened to you too?
There's a lot like school stuff, and I thought what was going to happen, but it ended up in a completely different track.
Are we talking about stuff the teachers teach you?
No, it's more of school gossip type of thing.
Yep, that's exactly what happened to me too.
I have another question. And what do you think of the theory that there are other dimensions in the universe?
I don't know for sure, but I would love for that theory to be true. If I read a book that's very badly written, I would definitely like to go to another dimension where the book is written better, or hopefully the book has a much happier, nicer ending. So yeah, I would definitely, I don't know if it is true, but I would like for it to be true. What
Yeah.
about you? Do you think other dimensions are true?
I think from the science aspect, I think it would be really cool to like figure it out and be like the one to figure it out that there are other dimensions.
Oh, nice.
I have a few quiz questions from what I said.
Oh, you
And-
prepared the quiz questions.
Yeah.
You're going to ask me and I'm going to answer. I like this idea.
This is from the Aru Shah series. What was the demon Aru released called? No.
Demon is called the sleeper.
What Pandava does Aru have the soul of?
Arjuna.
And where does Aru Shah live?
The Museum of some ancient Indian culture.
Yes, it's called the Museum of Ancient Indian Art and Culture. I have questions from the Greystone Secrets series too. Who are the main characters of the Stranger's book? Like
You
the
want
three
me to give the names
siblings.
of the three characters? Siblings?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I just remember the middle one was very fond of math. The last one is very fond of, creating a lot of mischief. I don't remember the names of the characters.
They're called Chess, Emma, and Finn Greystone. Who did the Greystone kids stay with when their mother went on a business trip?
The name of the character again? One lady. That's all I remember. You said some lady. What was the answer?
She's called Mrs. Morales, and they stayed with her and her daughter Natalie. What did the kidnapped kids have in common with the Greystone kids?
Oh, they had the same names and the same ages, and they're very similar. The same date of birth. Did I do well?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. I feel very thrilled. Saathvika, this has been such a pleasure chatting with you.
it was very fun. I liked it. I liked researching the books I like.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, and I also know that you've been listening to the podcast on this channel, What's New Today. Is there any one episode that you really enjoyed and would like to recommend to our listeners?
I liked the one about the Tasmanian tigers. It was very interesting, and I didn't know that they were trying to bring Tasmanian tigers back to life.
Awesome.
This was the first podcast channel I was introduced to. I liked it very much. It's cool.
Thank you so much, Saathvika. It was such a pleasure hearing such interesting book recommendations from you. I hope that you've inspired some of our listeners to pick up a new series of books and read them.
Did you feel intrigued by the books she's recommended? And do you feel like skipping over to the episode about how we're about to bring extinct Tasmanian tigers back to life? You can find link to this episode in the show notes below, and you can find the books that she's recommended on Amazon, Flipkart, and many of your neighborhood bookstores as well. Disclaimer, we make no money from the sale of any of these books. We just love bringing new ideas to kids and families around the world. That's it for this episode. Did you enjoy this banter between Saathvika and I? Then please do share us, follow us, and rate us. We'd love to see our audience grow. And you can help us by leaving a rating and a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. New episodes on What's New Today drop every Monday and Friday. And
Thanks for listening.